go, guys. Welcome to your weekly dose of America. This is the American Beards crew. Uncle Phil, Thundercat, back again. We got a little different episode today because today's probably an earth-shattering, ground-breaking day here at American Beards. First time ever we've had a guest appearance or a guest interview. Because today's topic is law enforcement. All right, something that me and you both agree on, and I know a lot of you guys out there fully support the men and women out there holding the thin blue line every single day. So, you know, instead of just me and Uncle Phil rambling on about our thoughts and feelings about law enforcement, we thought, let's interview somebody that's actually has some law enforcement background and knows what does go on, you know, behind the scenes, which we don't. So all the things that we assume, you know, maybe we'll clear up today and either reinforce what we've been thinking all along, or maybe shed some light on some things that we didn't know. So the problem, though, is that in talking to the numerous law enforcement officers that we know, nobody wanted anything remotely to do with coming on and talking to us. And I'm not sure how to take that. You know, I'm going to assume it's mostly you that they don't want to talk to, you know. And they've told me that behind the scenes, that if I had my own show, they would talk to me, but you rub them the wrong way, apparently.
It's understandable.
So, what we were able to get is this nice pair of legs here. Yeah, dude. We finally found somebody to talk to us in law enforcement off screen, so you guys will hear the audio of this person, and yeah, it should work good. So now they don't have to worry about any type of backlash or any type of lip from anybody out there. Not that any of our fans would give any lip, but you know, I'm sure there's some filthy trash liberals out there that want to run their gap. But so we came up with a few questions. You know, nothing too super controversial. You know, we just want to kind of get in the mind of the officers there. So, without further ado, you want to go first? You want me to?
We'll start with a quick intro. Let our guests kind of introduce themselves to an extent that they feel comfortable. I guess the first question would just be, how long were you in law enforcement, and if you're comfortable just letting us know the roles that you served in.
All right, first off, we can identify myself as Mr. X or Jason Bourne or David Webb.
Jason Bourne.
No, I started in law enforcement at a young age. I did approximately 9 years on the force with 2 different agencies, rotated throughout the divisions, wound up on a Special Weapons and Tactics unit, also known as SWAT, and called it a quick career after several incidences. So with the pendulum swinging over to the left, and obviously with the chaos in the world, it's probably not a good time to be a law enforcement officer, so I made an appropriate gamble and found something else to do.
Professional interview. So now, to spin off of that, would you recommend the career of being in law enforcement to any young person out there?
Not necessarily. I have children, and you know, if any of them ever came to me and asked me, you know, what my thoughts and beliefs would be in reference to joining the force, I would have to strongly disagree. And that's just with the nonsense that goes on in communities, the nation as a whole. I just feel like it's not a safe environment for the people that you want to protect your livelihood, your families, your properties. It's just, you know, what I see nowadays too is, you know, cops that are out of shape, out of, you know, basically out of source with everything that goes around in the communities and in the real world. No life experience. So, you know, in my determination, it seems like if you just have a pulse, you get a job. And that's not somebody that I want to show up on my doorstep when my life or the life of my family or the safety of us is in jeopardy, that I'm having somebody as a younger individual show up out of shape or whatnot. But I just don't feel that with the way the backing of the world is right now with law enforcement, that no, I would probably strongly disagree or try to urge them to pick a different career force.
So in other words, the divide, it sounds like, between the communities and the general public and law enforcement is just getting wider and wider. And it almost feels, and this is from, again, people that aren't in law enforcement, you're just watching the media, it looks like out there it's us against them. Like, you know, now all of a sudden the law enforcement is the bad guys, and we're the good guys, like, fighting the law enforcement. And I mean, it's, law enforcement is a job just like, you know, any other job out there. You do your time, you go home, you know, you know, you obviously you've signed up for a very intense and possibly deadly job, but, you know, a lot of the things that are going on seem like they're just making it even more and more dangerous out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And to hit on the fact that, you know, you're in a serious job, is that law enforcement is probably the only job that you are hated for doing your job and for not doing your job. How many times have we all been out there at a traffic light and seen somebody run a red light and ask where's the cop when you need him? Or, you know, but you know, do a rolling stop at a stop sign and get stopped, and then now it's a big issue that the cop, you know, was actually there and witnessed it. You know, the big thing is too is that you see a cop driving to, you know, God knows where, but going a little faster than the speed limit, and then, you know, everyone sits there and chastises that and says, you know, they think they can get away with everything because they're driving fast. Well, you know, the big thing is that, you know, the actual call dictates what you can do. If you're going to run hot, which means, you know, lights and sirens, or if you're going to speed it up a little bit. But I can just guarantee you that anybody that is the one saying, like, why are they always driving fast and thinking they can get away with everything, is that if you were a victim and you called 911, you would hope that I got there as fast as possible. I could choose to drive slower, or I could choose to drive faster in a safe manner. You would want me to drive faster in a safe manner. So it's really the only job, like I've said, is that you're hated for doing it and for not doing it. I think there is a huge issue with what's going on, where it's now, you know, the cops being blamed for everything. But, you know, with society as a whole, like, there's always somebody to blame. Now, I'm not big on conspiracy theories or anything like that, but, you know, the smoke and mirror game is a huge influence in a lot of things. If I can fool you to look one way, I can do something another way, without having people question it. Yep. Because if you don't know it, you don't understand it. And perception is reality. So if I can show that all cops are bad, and create the division of society versus law enforcement, which is not necessary, I can do all the wrong things that I'm intending to do originally without you ever even understanding or knowing.
All right. So one of our first questions, do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, he touched on it a little bit already.
Yeah.
And that would be, you know, I just kind of want to ask if you feel right now that law enforcement as a whole has the support that they not just need but deserve from a federal level, but also on a community level. I know there's been quite a divide over the last, 8 years, but more so within the last, 6 months to a year, especially in the community. But it seems to be on a much bigger federal level.
And that kind of plays into the morale of the force.
So just to get this straight, the question is that do I believe that we have the support either federal or local or anything in between?
Yeah.
No, I don't. And that's a sad thing to say, is that I really feel that, you know, with the saying, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
You know, what really irks me and, you know, the brothers and sisters in arms is that, you know, and this is just in my opinion, I can't speak for everyone else, but this just struck a nerve with me, is that, you know, when we have the POTUS speaking in reference to a shooting that occurred, you know, a couple weeks back in Louisiana, or, you know, with the Trayvon Martin case, with the Michael Brown case, with, you know, all sorts of other cases throughout the nation, is that you're the president of the United States. If you want to make a statement, that's fine. But why are you making a statement in reference to your belief of what occurred without having any actual findings and investigation being completed? We're talking within hours of the incident, you're already posting a interview of yourself stating that this is wrong. With the law enforcement perspective of that is, you know, how hard is it for you to want to get up in the morning and go to work on your regular job? If you work at a grocery store, if you work at a car mechanic shop, you know, now taking the equation of you wear a bulletproof vest or a bullet resistant vest, it's never bulletproof, and a gun for a reason. People hate you.
Yeah.
And now you're even seeing it swing over into the medical field with fire and EMTs and paramedics. So you're taking in consideration that you're always going to a call where something is bad. That call may not seem busy to you or a big deal to you, but it's probably the worst thing ever in that person's life. But then all of a sudden things go bad and you have a split-second decision or reaction time to make a life and death situation or a decision, and then all of a sudden you have the President of the United States making a statement on it and saying that you're wrong without having any findings or facts. To me, that's just extremely disrespectful, extremely ignorant, arrogant, and it's wrong, just flat out wrong.
Well, if you remember, one of the very first things that Obama did in office was, wasn't the Cambridge police? I think that was it, where, you know, he said that they acted stupidly when they were, like, trying to...
they detained the homeowner of his house in D.C.
Yeah, and come to find out he was, like, the professor.
He was a professor, but just the backstory of that is the professor refused to show identification. Now, if he would have just said, okay, here's my ID, clearly shows the address of this home, you know, this is my house. How many times, like, you know, there's that saying, don't pull wool over my eyes. Now, if he would have clearly showed that ID, I don't think the wool would have been pulled over the eyes. But do you think the criminals that are doing the wrong, that are breaking into your house, are telling the truth when the cops stop them? Probably not.
No, anyone who's watched Cops knows that.
Absolutely. So, you know, I would be honored for a police officer to go above and beyond to continue the investigation to make sure that this person is who they say they are. It has a right to be here, because if not for that police officer, the professor that owned the home, who, let's say he wasn't the owner of the house and he was a burglar, and then he breaks into the house, and then now the real owner comes home, and all of a sudden they're wondering where the cops were. So that's, again, it's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But the thing is that I didn't appreciate, I believe the professor was a black man, it's not, like, that's the biggest thing that they show up is the race issue, and it's like, wait a minute, what makes it a race issue? Just because he's black and I just so happen to be a white man, like, or a white female or a white police officer? It doesn't matter what race you are. It matters if you're committing a crime. If you are have the intent to do it, or you already have done it.
Yeah, they don't classify it as white criminal and black criminal. It's just
absolutely
criminal.
not.
Right.
Absolutely not. And the support, having the president make that statement, and then all of a sudden having to invite those two individuals, the professor and the police officer, to the White House Rose Garden to enjoy a nice, refreshing beer. You know, that all could have been avoided. And it's, to me, it's just asinine, the fact that you know, you're getting up there and you're publicly showing your distaste for law enforcement. Now, is racism there? Absolutely. But racism's there in every spectrum that you look at. And if you look at the way society is going, it's easier for a person of minority, and I say that with my fingers twitching as parentheses, to show...
You can put that one hand out here and twitch it.
To show more racism than any other white individual. And it's clear with the whole Obama making the statement against that professor and saying that the police department was acted stupidly. Well, what's stupid about me asking for your identification?
Well, that's also because, you know, the liberal left jumped all over that as a racism issue. And like you said, they had asked for ID. And that's, all, you know, all of us knowing that he was a professor. Like, I mean, we're watching video. We all know he's a professor because of the video, blah, blah, blah. That's all after the fact. If you're a cop going to this house and some guy answers the door, unless you knew him personally, I don't know if this guy's a professor.
Well, that's the biggest thing is that people don't realize.
You know?
They don't realize that you get a 911 call. Now, it's very hard. It's very hard to suggest, in my opinion, that all law enforcement are racist. Because that would mean that I would have to wake up in the morning to start my day with the mindset that I am going to ruin the life of anybody who is different color than me. But you get a 911 call. You know, dispatch dispatches you to that call. That cop, who knows, he probably was eating lunch. I highly doubt that he wanted to go to that call. But he took an oath to protect and serve, and because that call came out, he knew that he needed to go to that call, because that's the call that they assigned him. And he was probably going to do the most thorough and the best job he could. But then here you are, you have the backlash of saying, because I did the most thorough job that I could, I'm wrong for it. Because why? I asked for his ID, he refused to give me it, so I took him to jail for whatever the charge was. You know, it's been a while, so I'm not really familiar with it, but...
Yeah, and reminding, you know, everyone that, like you say, when you get the call, it's because something's wrong. So you're going to a situation where there's a problem. It's not, nobody calls and says, you know, hey, everything's great over on, you know, Elm and 4th.
The best way to describe it is adult babysitting.
Yeah.
I can tell you in the career that I've had, even though it's short compared to a lot of others, is that I've never received a 911 call where I showed up to the scene and they told me that I did a great job. And then that was it. And I left. It's literally, something bad is occurring. It's the worst day of my life. Fix this problem.
After I just got through complaining about how I hate the cops
Absolutely.
on Facebook,
Yeah.
then I call them.
Absolutely. That happens a lot.
I need service now.
And the thing is, too, is that you have all these certain laws in there and you have a gray area. And I've said it before, and you know, criminals have more rights than the average citizen, and that's clear as day.
Oh yeah.
I have to work into the area of right and wrong. You, as a criminal, get to work into an area of gray. If I happen to misprint a report, or if I don't write the word approximately in front of a time, and a defense attorney can discourage the actual time that I arrived on scene or I did something, the whole case gets thrown away. So everything that you do has to be on point. So that's why I think that the cops are really thorough, asking for ID, finding out who they are. I don't know you from Steve. I don't know you from Adam. I don't know you from anybody.
Yeah, because then if you don't, you're in trouble. So you're trying to cover your own self.
And we try to take into consideration of looking at a true victim's perspective of it.
Right.
How would I feel of sleeping at night if a true victim has to be that victim and that case got thrown out or the suspect walked away because I didn't do a thorough job on that? You know, that's hard to swallow because you're blamed for everything. And you're the first responder, so you're seeing the nasty of the nasty. And it's not something that these cops like. You know, the life expectancy of a police officer is only 5 years after retirement, and that's due to suicide. or a heart attack because of stress. Is because the things that you do see, the common person doesn't. And it does take a toll on you. But what makes it even worse is when you have the media against you, but now you actually have the President of the United States against you. And that creates that division to where you have to sleep with one eye open. And that's ridiculous.
And you got Uncle Al there waiting to...
Absolutely. Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, they're race baiters.
Pure trash.
And what people don't realize is that they make millions.
Up in every episode, so
They make millions and millions of
every
dollars.
episode.
Millions and millions of dollars.
Oh yeah.
They're professional race baiters. I mean,
Absolutely.
they make money on pushing racism that sometimes isn't even there. A lot of times isn't there, but if it's not
But you
there
know
and they
why
got
it's
it
there?
injected...
If it's not there, it will be
It's
there.
made
and
up.
that's because it sells.
Yeah.
It sells. It sells everything. It sells itself.
Well then, like, if here, ask yourself this: Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, Obama, whoever else, Rahm Emanuel. If this is such, you know, a huge racial problem and people are dying, blah blah blah, why don't you do something about Chicago? You know, nobody seems to care
Yeah, what's
about.
never in the news? You
It's-
know, the 50 black men who were
Never.
killed this past weekend.
There's more, you know, people killed there than any racial situation,
Oh, yeah.
you know, in America, but it's black on black crime, so nobody cares about it because it doesn't sell in the media.
Well, there's no one to blame, and that's what the big thing
Other
is.
than
is
yeah,
that
other than
Yeah, what's Al
race.
Sharpton gonna go?
what
Who's he
is
gonna blame?
There's none because the programs are there.
Yep.
You know, and when you are and I didn't come from a poverty area, so I can't speak on that. But working in a poverty area, I know that the programs are available, the funds are available, the government will help you,
Just
the
gotta
state
take
will help
advantage
you.
of it.
You have to make a decision that you are going to take advantage of it and move forward with it.
And plus, you're responsible for yourself. You know?
Absolutely.
Right.
I
It doesn't
mean,
matter if your your whole family history is a bunch of gangbangers. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean you have to.
and we get it. You know that you're single family, blah blah blah, whatever it is. At the end of the day, you're responsible for you. And if you choose to run with gangs and bad people, you're going to have situations with the cops. If you don't want to deal with the cops, then, you know, fly on the straight and narrow. You know what I mean?
Well, that's
So-
the big thing too. Is that I do understand in a ghetto type atmosphere of a residential areas that it's not cool. It's not sexy to have a career or a college education or a 401k or this or that because you're labeled as an Uncle Tom. What's sexy is selling drugs, fitting in rap music, and having multiple women, big cars with big rims. And that's what makes it look like you've made it in that community. So that's the ignorance of it.
Yeah.
It's how do you fix it? You just do it by making sure that everyone is able to do what they can to fix the problem. But what happens is they don't want to fix the problem because they have this huge different mindset of what success looks like.
Right.
Because it's glorified in the media and the music and everything else, and
absolutely.
movies.
And it's hard work to go to college. It's hard work to do the right thing. It's hard work to get up every Monday and go to work rather than sleeping in until 10 o'clock in the morning.
But a lot of us do it.
It's hard work, but we have no choice to do it because we have families, we have responsibilities. We have to get up and do it.
So, I mean, here's a prime example. You got Dr. Ben Carson, who ran for president and got completely railroaded, as well as last election cycle, Herman Cain. I mean, those are two, African-American dudes that worked really hard. They're extremely successful. People hate them.
Yeah.
Because they're not ghetto.
And that's the thing.
I
it's
mean,
where
they don't sell. You
Muhammad
can't
Ali,
sell that to young people,
Muhammad Ali used to get under Joe Frazier's skin because he called him Uncle Tom.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the worst derogatory comments you can make to an African American male, is that he's an Uncle Tom. Because that means he's working for the white man. And he's trying to be the white man. And you look at Ben Carson, like you said, no one wants to talk about him because he says the right things that no one wants to hear.
Yeah.
He did the right things that no one wants to see. And like you said, it's not something that is going to sell. It's not something that is going to show. He's not ghetto enough. Well, that's completely ridiculous. Why are you separating him? He should be educated enough.
That was one of their issues during the campaign. Like,
He's not ghetto enough?
Yeah.
He should have. You shouldn't look at it as he's not ghetto enough because,
Thank God.
thank his parents that they made it a point to raise him to be well off later in life rather than to be buried 6 feet under or to be in prison.
Yeah, he was a single family, and his mom pretty much just said, get your ass to school. I mean, we could continue down this rabbit hole of branching off on this thing affects this thing. Go back to this whole welfare thing where you got people making a living off of having kids.
Yeah.
So they're just exploding these crime-filled ghettos, and all the tax dollars that we pay are really just concentrated in these ghettos. I mean,
and you see that in law enforcement too. You've seen the 18-year-old kid on the corner slinging dope, and you open his wallet and he has an EBT card or a government aid card, and you check his other pocket and he has $10,000 cash in it, and it's like, how does this work?
Yeah, like you're driving around on a Wednesday morning and you see people standing around on the side of the street and you're like, what the hell are you doing? I mean,
well, a big problem is too is that there's people that are willing but not able to work that can't get the government assistance that's needed, and then there's people that aren't willing who are able to work that will not and will get all the benefits, and that's where the scale doesn't meet the criteria, because it's very unfortunate, because there's people that need it and don't have it, because there's people that don't need it that do have it.
I was talking to somebody yesterday, and out on one of our main highways here in town, there's some guys on the side of the road with cardboard signs, which I'm sure every town in America has. We'll work for food. Well, the guy had some yard work he needed done, so he's like, he just stopped at the red light and said out the window, hey, I've got some yard work. There's 3 guys over there. You guys want to come over to the house, do some yard work, blah, blah. The first question they asked was, how much? And he said, $50? And the guy looked at him and laughed and said, I make more than that in a couple stoplights.
Absolutely.
So they laughed at him.
In this county we have there's a county ordinance against panhandling. You can actually take somebody to jail for asking for money, because people do make careers out of it.
Yeah.
I personally have stopped somebody asking for money on the side of the road who made $60, and you ask them how long they've been there. They've been there for 23 minutes, and it's like, wait a minute, you're making more than me. You're making more than a doctor, and their job is to act like they're homeless and to get the old pity party from people who are willing to give them the money. And then there's other people that only prey on women or elderly, and they sit there and they get aggressive with these people if they tell them no, if they refuse to give them money.
So the only difference between panhandling and welfare is that panhandling, people are voluntarily giving you money. Welfare is the government taking money from the taxpayer and giving it to you. It's the same thing, it just comes from different sources. And either one, at the bottom end of the day, nobody wants to work. I mean, you can't tell me that in an hour that all 3 of us, Mr. Jason Bourne included, can go out and get a job somewhere. Even whatever, McDonald's, who cares where it is? And that's another stigma, is like, if you work at like a fast food place or something like that, it's like, you're an idiot. Why would you work there? It's like, that's an honest job. I mean, start off cleaning bathrooms, next thing you know, I'll be the manager.
Yeah, I read somewhere that, this generation looks at working at a fast food joint as an insult, but, the generation of your grandparents looked at it as an opportunity.
Right? Yeah.
And
no
one wants to work hard. No one wants to work hard.
My first, say, if I had a job at the fast food place, my first thought is, how do I get to be the manager of this place and then own my own restaurant? Like, that's my main focus. It's not like, sucks, mopping floors, and you got to look at that with every job.
The bad thing is that human beings are lazy, and if we're going to take the easy way out no matter what, it's easier for us to complain and point the finger to get where we want to go, rather than to put the hard work and keep your head down and just drive forward. And it's, to me, it's just, you're creating that huge area of disbelief in my eyes of seeing that, because
Yeah.
hard work is hard work no matter how you look at it. A job is a job no matter how you look at it. Work your butt off. Go to school. Do whatever you want to do, because they do say, like, if you actually do something that you love, you never work a day in your life. But you have to make it there. You're not going to be this privileged person that's going to just wake up tomorrow and your whole dreams come true. Dreams are dreams, okay? So have the motivation. You know, what's our motivation? I don't want people to say that stuff about me. The things that I am disgusted about, I don't want people to claim that that's me. So I work my butt off to get where I want to go, to provide a better life for me and my family. And that's what everyone needs to do, but they refuse to.
So there's probably been quite a shift as far as, like, you know, the law enforcement of like 50 years ago probably went into it thinking, you know, I can make a difference, you know, I can help people, I can, you know, save people, I can, you know, whatever. And now, you know, it's just like,
Yeah, what's the motivation
Like-
now?
I don't think there is any
When
motivation.
there's
I think
such
it's just
disrespect.
because it's like I said, it's so broadcasted through being filmed, because everyone you turn around, there's 8-year-old kids that have, you know, iPhones that
Yeah.
have cameras on them. Everything is filmed. I think it's more along the lines that a cop now is petrified, terrified to make a decision, because he knows, or she knows, that it's going to be dissected, and everything that they did wrong that moment is going to be critiqued, and they're
Or
going to get
everything they did
reprimanded
right.
for it.
and,
But when they do something right, it's never broadcasted.
Right.
and that right there, when you say that they have some worry about, you know, what the outcome's going to be, that's deadly.
Oh yeah.
Because-
Yeah, they'll kill them every time.
Because
There's
the
a big
second-
saying in this world, is called, I'd rather be judged by 12
Yeah.
than carried by 6. Is because, let's say, you know, hypothetically, there's a hostage situation. That hostage is wishing and waiting for somebody who is trained, who is a professional, to come save their life from this person who is crazy, who has made that determination that they're going to harm somebody, another human being. Now, it's not a materialistic thing. It's not something that you can throw away and go buy tomorrow at Home Depot.
Right.
This is a human life. If you die, guess what? You're dead. There's nothing coming back from. And that's what I feel like a lot of people don't take into consideration, is that how precious life is. And the only people that will are people who have had life and death experiences, that truly understand the actuality of breathing on this earth. And what happens, though, is you have these people, you know, most of them are just very educated, never seen any force of combat, never seen anything other than a piece of paper and a pen, and sign here, do this, who will judge them
Yeah.
and determine
Oh, yeah.
if
Making
you are going
comments on
to
you.
prison the rest of your life, or if you were going to be dedicated as a hero.
Yep.
If it's a very hard scenario, because as a former SWAT operator, if you trusted me to make that shot to a hostage situation, I don't know if I could, just because of the media backlash. It's just because of what the repercussions will be in society. And it's not if I'm proven innocent through a court of law that I did nothing wrong. It's what society thinks. You look at Michael Brown,
And we've seen it doesn't matter.
the
over
police
and over
officer in Michael Brown
Yeah.
was proven innocent.
Again. Right. But it doesn't,
But all of a sudden, you know, he had to move out of the whole state.
Oh yeah.
He'll never work in law enforcement again.
What about the what was it? The 6 that were dang it, mind blank now. The 6 that were just tried to be prosecuted.
Oh, you're talking about the New York case where the officers in New York were found
Yeah.
innocent from.
Like the first 2 or 3 were found innocent, and then they just, you know, said they
it's
just
because
threw the
you
case
know,
out because it
through
was.
forensic
yeah.
science is a beautiful thing, and technology is really beautiful, because technology is going to show and it's going to back
Backs you
you. You
up,
can't lie against science. You can't
Right.
lie against physics. And that's the beauty of what's clearing these police officers in these cases, is that's available for them to look at.
Well, there was
But-
some black police officers in that group, and you know they were getting charged too. So it's like now it's past racial lines. It's like
Well, I don't think it's past
full-blown-
racial lines. I think what they do is they'll categorize those black officers as the
racist.
Uncle Toms
Yeah,
that I've said
against-
before, because
Never
Well, they're
understood
cops,
that.
which cops trump, racism. Like
Apparently.
cops are put up there as like the most evil. We know they're all crooked. They all are trying to beat us up and blah blah blah.
listen,
blah.
this isn't the 1940s anymore. I mean, we're in 2016.
You'd think.
If you cannot convince me, because I'm an educated man and I have common sense, that police officers wake up every morning. Every single one of them wake up every morning with the process and the thought of committing a racial act.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, because I've lived this, I've never woke up in my life, in my law enforcement career or my civilian career, of waking up wishing and hoping that somebody did
Right.
something to where I had to take their life. And I can tell you, it is a stressful situation.
You just want to go home.
I want to go home
Right.
to see my kids, to see my wife, to kiss them and tell them how much I love them, and to protect them against the bad world that is out there. Because people are, we call them sheeple in law enforcement, is that the sheep will always be led. There's always somebody to herd the sheep.
Oh yeah.
But there's always something there to protect the sheep. That's called
Right.
the sheepdog. Law enforcement, military, courageous individuals are the sheepdog. The individuals that think that this world is full of rainbows and unicorns are the sheep.
Yeah.
But then you have the criminals who are the wolves. If the sheepdog weren't there, the wolves would eat all the sheep. And that's what does occur. But what's happening now is the sheep herder is condoning and getting onto the sheepdog for protecting the sheep.
Yeah.
So now the sheepdog is that whip dog in the corner that refuses to do anything because they don't want to be in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, though people don't understand. I mean, they're spouting off about shit that they don't know about.
Well, they don't understand until the situation occurs, and that's what I said
Right.
earlier, is that you're hated for doing your job and you're hated for not doing your job.
Because I don't know how it feels to be like I know how it feels when we go out on the range and shoot. It's calm. We're talking. My heart rate's down. Cool, calm, and collected. We're just shooting, having a good time. Throw me in a situation where
That
I don't
target shooting
know,
back.
Right.
and I'm in an unfamiliar place. The lighting isn't perfect. I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know who's behind me. I don't know how I would react. And the thought of me maybe not reacting fast enough because I'm worried about a body cam or
The backlash. of
some
society.
backlash. Now all of a sudden I'm in some serious danger. I need to be able to go into a situation knowing perfectly clear-minded and analyzing everything that I got going on, not worried about the lawyer that's going to talk to me
and
afterward.
that's where the problem is, where the pendulum is swung in the opposite direction, is because you take the people who are judging you and they try to get themselves in that scenario. It'll never occur, because like you said, when you're out on the range and you're shooting lead but you're shooting a paper target,
Right.
you're calm. Everything's fun. You're hanging out with your buddies and doing all sorts of things. And let's put a gun in that target's hand and have the gun shoot back. Now let's put in that you only had a split second to make a life and death situation. It's kind of like the Wild West in a sense of the old shootouts, where they sat down on the aisle and they at the crack of noon, when the clock hits, they draw and they shoot. It was who had the quicker hand. Well, that's the same thing in law enforcement. And I can tell you, just from all the schoolings that I've been to with special ops and SWAT team type schoolings, is that the biggest thing that they hit on is action is faster than reaction. Every single time. It takes you a very long time to react. Now I can tell you, I've been in situations where deadly force has been authorized and time slows down. It may be as quick as it normally is, but in your mind, it slows down. So here I am in a life and death situation. I think about my family, my wife, my kids, even my dog. I want to go home and see them because I don't want them to have a cheap funeral with a crisp-folded American flag and a 21 gun salute as all they can remember me as, you know, with my kids being young.
Right.
Here I have that split-second decision.
Billy Dayton, we're videoing here. Leave me alone.
We have that split-second decision, and I make it. I make that decision to live. But all of a sudden, here you have the judicial system gets to take that investigation that took you a split second. I can't say that enough. But it takes them 12 months to dissect it and tell you every single thing you did wrong that day. That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
And people will hesitate. But hesitation will get you killed.
Yeah.
Because if I'm a hostage and you're the cop and I have the bad guy behind me, I don't want you to hesitate. I want you to be able to make that shot. I want you to be able to make that shot with pure confidence that you are going to let me live. Because my hand or my life are in your hands.
Yeah. Well, you know, we've got two questions to kind of stack onto that. You know, talking about like situations where you're meeting lethal force with lethal force.
Right.
The first freaking question, or the first, you know, comment or, you know, complaint that everybody has is, why didn't he shoot him with a sandbag? Or, you know, he should have blew smoke in his face, or, you know, hit him with a tranquilizer. It's like the non-lethal thing has been kind of like ginned up to be this like perfect cast net that you can just throw over a situation, and, you know, non-lethal flowers will, you know, sprout up all over the place and everything is fine. But, you know, me and you have talked about it before. I don't think we've said it on camera, but, you know, non-lethal, I'm sure in some circumstances, you know, like in prisons and in jails, non-lethals probably would work fine because, you know, essentially no one in there is armed with a weapon, possibly a shank, but for the most part, it's probably it's probably a great way to you know, calm down or get a hold of a situation. But when you're out in the jungle, you know, everyday USA, you know, tasers.
Doesn't make sense.
You know, it doesn't make sense. So
Well,
then
the
the
biggest
question is, from law enforcement, you know, how do you feel about non-lethal forms of, you know, meeting people?
Well, the biggest misconception of this is what you keep saying is non-lethal.
Or less than.
And what they did is they had to change it to less than lethal. And the reason why is because these are still deadly mechanical things that can kill you.
Shot in the eye with a beanbag.
You know, there's
suck.
been plenty of studies where a taser has been deployed and it's struck a person in the chest, but it just so happens, as luck have it, hit them in their shirt pocket with a butane lighter and set them on fire because it's a electric pulse, and now you shot it into a plastic device that holds fuel and causes fire.
You don't know that going into a situation.
Absolutely, but you don't have the time to react
happens,
to
you know?
seeing, oh wait, he has a butane lighter in his pocket. Maybe I shouldn't tase him while he's swinging this baseball bat or machete at me. You know, but hopefully they're not pulling their taser if he has that. But you know, less than lethal. I can take a beanbag round and you could be 50 yards away. I can shoot you. If I just miss because my shot's off and it hits you in the forehead, you're probably going to die. Or hits you in the eye. That's a soft tissue. You're probably going to die. So they had to reword it to less than lethal. In my
case,
you know, it's just when the situation deems appropriate. A lot of times when cops can't handle the actual situation, you know, mass shootings, terroristic acts, SWAT teams will be called in. We like to say on the SWAT team, because we think we're better than everyone, even though we're not, is that when the cops call 911, the SWAT team shows up. We just have the better equipment to handle that certain situation and the better training. But when you look at it as an incident, like when things happen, they happen quick. And that's the bad part of society and the media, is that they think that you know, everyone should just, oh, well, hang on 1 second, let's think this out, let's talk this through. Well, that's not what occurs, because it occurs really, really fast, to where they would probably, you know, shit themselves, or they would probably do the same thing.
And they're basing way too many opinions off of movies and.
Well, movies
you
are
know.
what, like CSI is the worst thing ever, because there is no such thing as Horatio Kane to pick up a hair follicle and say, I know exactly who did this.
It
was
takes
John
them an
Smith.
hour to figure out the crime every single time. It's amazing.
But it's suspenseful. But the only thing is that people watch that and they're like, wow. You know, we put a man on the moon, so obviously Horatio Kane is a smart individual.
I had a situation where I had some stuff taken from me, and the cops were there, and they were getting, and I said something about fingerprint, and the guy just was like,
yeah, you got to make sure you know what the material is at your finger. If it's wood,
He's
it's
like,
porous. So
dude.
guess what? It's going to soak up the oils from your skin. You're not going to find a print. If it's glass, yes, you will. But the thing is, a lot of people wear gloves anyway, but you know, those situations are there. But people have such high expectations for law enforcement is that they think that we have an S on our chest and we're Superman. That's not the case. The less than lethal topic is, what do you want me to do? I hear people always saying about shoot him in the leg. They should have shot him in the leg. Well, let me tell you this from a medical perspective: is that, you know, you have an artery in your leg that is a big major supplier of blood throughout your lower body, femoral artery. If I strike that, if I just nick that, you will die within 45 seconds because you will bleed out. You have two of them, one in each leg. Do you still want me to shoot him in the leg? Probably not. You know, and the thing is we're not trained, or it's not said to shoot to kill. That's not our intentions. We're shooting to stop the immediate threat, because that immediate threat can kill me, can kill others, and we're trained to stop that. I'm not going to shoot in the leg. You know how hard it is to shoot a moving target, especially a small leg that's probably 12 inches in diameter? You know, it's pretty difficult. You know, you want to shoot for center mass of anything that's exposed. You know, tasers work, but there are times where they don't. Man makes it, it will fail. We spoke about it earlier, is that, you know, Taser International is this huge organization that claims that their tasers never fail. You know why? Because they want sales. They're businessmen before they're actual professors. But we have this nice little organization in this country called NASA, who are very smart. NASA scientists have put men on the moon. We have flown through outer space. But with that being said, we've also had space shuttles blow up mid-flight. Now, I'm sure that the NASA scientists are smarter than the Taser International scientists. That's just my opinion. But if man makes it, it will fail. So if I use a taser and it fails, then what? Should I go to my car and call my supervisor to ask him to bring another taser over? What if that one fails? When is it okay for me to protect my life? Because, you know, the priority of life is the biggest thing. And you're trying to eliminate the immediate threat.
And you're talking about, you know, that you don't have just a responsibility for yourself. You got a responsibility to your parents, to everyone else that want to see you come home.
Well, let's
So
just
it's not
take,
just
you know,
you.
my life does matter too. So the Black Lives Matter movement, the White Lives Matter movement, every life matters. We all bleed red. We all matter. You know, and just take me outside of it as a law enforcement in general. Just take me out. I have a responsibility to Bob and Marge, to Joe Smith, to all these other civilians that happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, because their lives matter as well. But what should I do? Allow this person to continue to firefight these individuals who are unarmed because I'm just worried about what the repercussions are going to be?
Right.
Absolutely not. Because how do I live with myself knowing that that person died because I was too chicken shit to make a decision?
Right.
Only because media was going to come down on me. Probably lose my job. Probably have to move out of this, the state. You know, you'll never be the same. You're going to have to isolate yourself in a, you know, a state where no one wants to be, like Alaska or Montana or something. You know, it's unfortunate because that pendulum is just swung over and they don't really think about that stuff.
Right. That it's been touched on a little bit, but not in depth. Just with all the scenarios and situations and everything we talked about. But I guess I would be interested in hearing what you think about body cams and them being mandatory, just from what we've seen on the media side of things, but also what we see, from the police officers' rights and the civilians' rights. Where does a body cam come into play, in all of that?
I think body cams are great, only for the idea of it clearing the accused wrongdoing of any law enforcement official. But I think they're bad as well because these things are public access. Because you have a body cam on and it belongs to the agency, that I, Joe Smith, can come into that agency and request the copy of that exact citation. Now, with that being said, if you're a suspect, or if you're a victim, or if you're a witness, what happens if I walk into your house? You have a right to privacy in your own home. I shouldn't be able to record you without your knowledge, and if you refuse, what happens? What, are you going to turn it off?
Right.
Well, then you're going to have a defense attorney argue that and say that, if it's that easy to turn off, how many other times has he turned it off? And with the criminal law, you just have to find beyond a reasonable doubt. If there's any type of doubt, your case is gone. And with these body cams, I just feel like it's not going to, the idea is right. I think that having them would be good, but having them would also be incorrect, because there's nothing to do to regulate it. Because if you do turn it off, then you're going to be questioned on the stand. If you don't turn it off, you're going against people's constitution in this country, and either way you're going to lose. So what's the fine line? What's the appropriate stance on that? Right. You just don't know. So it might be too new to even discuss, but I think it's good for law enforcement to clear their name, but I also think it's bad because you're just going to get jammed up anyway. So
I mean, basically, from not only being a police officer, you have to be a television producer.
Absolutely.
You've got to be a lawyer, a constitutional scholar, a scientist, a doctor, a family therapist, counsel. How many hats does law enforcement wear that people just don't see? Look, nobody sees on the news a body cam video of a police officer, helping save somebody's life.
That's right. That doesn't sell.
But there's God knows how many white police officers are saving black lives. Probably thousands to one every day.
Right.
That we never see in it, and stuff like that. Old Uncle Al and Uncle Jesse, that stuff doesn't sell, so it never makes the evening news.
Yeah.
And they can't make any money off of it. But yeah, well, these were just a few of the questions that we wanted to pose today, and kind of different than our normal shenanigans, podcast-wise. I'd say it was a maybe a little more serious than usual.
Yeah.
So, but that's that's good.
Yeah,
sometimes we need to
good.
get a little serious and make sure that we get the topics covered.
Yeah.
Out there.
I mean, I think it's important. It's important that people realize it's not just us just sitting here, spouting off. We want to hear from everyone else, and especially if it's something that we talk about regularly. It's nice to get that input and get a real world input from someone who lived it for almost a decade. So
yeah, and I mean, if you could be like Jason Bourne over here, if you've got a topic that we can bring up on the show, like we've said 1,000 times. Even if you're not around Florida, if you want to be a part, make a video. It doesn't have to be funny. It doesn't have to be anything. Just make a video of you and your crew, or just you being American, and send it to us on Facebook, or you can use our email. You know, whatever you need to do to get us the video if you want to be part of it, and we'll check it out, and we'll post it up there for you guys. You know, just, you know, the more of that stuff that we can have fun with, the better. And we, as usual, we always appreciate you guys watching. But I'd say it was a pretty good one this time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
We got some answers to a lot of the questions that we've been pondering.
Yep.
You know, and like true journalists, we got to the heart of the issue, and we got the correct answers to our questions.
Yeah.
Like we always do.
Like we always.
You know?
Yeah.
And you know, if we don't know the answers, we'll just get angry enough to where we'll come up with
make our own.
We'll make our own. But no matter what, we're always right. So let's just remember that. So from the full crew here at American Beards, and we appreciate you guys tuning in. We will see you next week, and hopefully we'll have a little YouTube or Facebook, maybe a little something video for you guys this week to laugh at. So Uncle Phil, Thundercat, and Jason Bourne, thanks guys. We'll see you next week.
See ya.